Rev up your engines! Well, eventually everything wears out. The old plastic radiator and matrix is starting to seep some coolant, so it's time for a new one. It's 17 years old, and as you can hear, the fan wobbles, and then we're going to change the fan assembly and the whole radiator. It's something new. I got the whole assembly from a new company. And as you can see here, it's called Factory Motor Parts. So I decided to try them out. It came the next day, didn't have to wait very long. I guess they got a bunch of warehouses all over the country. They're able to get you all kinds of parts. They have a lot of OEM parts too. I like the original equipment manufacturing. So even though you're buying it from a company that isn't the manufacturer or the dealer, they can get the stuff and they give you a decent price. Well, I'm going to try it out. We'll see how it lasts over time. We'll see if it fits. It certainly looks like it's going to fit, but you'll also be able to see how to replace a radiator and fan unit on a car. They're all pretty much the same. Now, of course, the first thing we're going to do when it's cold, this thing's been sitting all night, get a drain pan and drain the coolant in it. Now, if we look in here, there's the drain. We got to turn that drain. We'll stick our arm up in here and undo it. Since it's hard to get to, we'll take this plastic crap off here. Now we can reach inside and turn it. And it'll start to drain soon. There it comes. Through the drain hole. Down into the pan. While it's draining, we'll start taking some of the connectors off. As you can see right here, those are 12 millimeters. It holds it on, just comes off. Put it up here so you don't lose it. Then do the other side over here. And that gets out of the way. Put it over here. You can see the whole thing wiggles now. For that, I use one of these special hose clamp grabbers. It's a lot easier than trying to pinch stuff. It just squeezes it. You squeeze it, it latches in place. You can move it off of the way. Then you're gonna let it go and just pull the hose off. Wiggle it a lot. Like this, get a giant screwdriver, start prying. Now you can see it's starting to get loose. Should be able to wiggle it now. Been on there for 17 years, so there you go. We got that off. Get that out of the way. Now this side's all clear. We'll unplug the connector right here. You just unplug it and click it off. And there it goes, it's unplugged. Then we got to get the little cooler lines here off. That's the coolant lines for the transmission. The radiator also cools. So you grab the ring, get it out of the way, then you wiggle this and pull the line off. You can see on the new radiator, there's one on the top and one on the bottom. I'll pull it off too. Wiggle the hell out of it. There's the top one, get it over here, then we got to do the bottom one. Now there isn't much working room to get to the bottom hose for the transmission cooler and the bottom radiator hose, so we're going to take the fan assembly off. There's just two bolts, 10 millimeters. We'll take them off. There's one, the other one's over here. That'll give us more working room. Now we should be able to get the whole fan assembly off. As you can see, now there's a lot more working room. Here we have the bottom radiator hose off, which is down here. And we use the giant clamp machine again. Just stick the long end on, and then we squeeze this. Then we wiggle the clamp off, and off it goes. Now we can pick the radiator off. It should just lift out, and it is. The plastic just cracks over time. When you do this job, the bottom of the radiator has these two little rubber stoppers on it. You take them off and you put them in the mounting holes. See? Right down here. One goes in there and the other one goes down in here. That's what the radiator sits on. Now the radiator just fits in. These are the pointy bits that go down into the hole. We'll make sure it fits. Slide it in, slide the wires around it, and both sides to fit into the holes. So now we'll put the hoses back on. Bottom hose slips on, then we loosen the clamp holder so it snaps in place. As you can see, now that's nice and tight. Then we get the little hoses that are for the transmission cooler. There's one here. Where's the other one hiding? It's hiding somewhere. Everything's black. There it is. We just get it, slide it over real far as we can get it. Keep wiggling it. Then we do the same thing with the top hose. Squeeze it, put it on. Now we can put the fan in. The assembly just slips over and then bolts on. Just make sure you get all the wires out of the way. I got these in the way, so I got to pull them out. Then get your stock in a 10 millimeter. Tighten the bolts and hold it in place. Snug, you don't want the fan flying off. Then do the other side. And don't forget to get the wire for the fan. It just disappeared somewhere. It's supposed to plug in here. It's got to be around here somewhere. Everything's black, but finally, here it is. Let's hope it snaps on. Clicked right on. So I gotta say, this company sold me something that's a perfect fit. Then we slide the upper radiator hose, get our little clamp holder, put it over the clamp, squeeze it again. Helps if you push on the metal. It's kind of hard to squeeze. Then we can easily slide it over right where the old clamp was. Make sure it's in nice and tight. And then release it. It's all back together now. Then we get the radiator hauled down. These are add-on wires for my fog lamp. I'll clamp them back down when I'm done. One goes over here, one goes over here. Again, this is for the fog lamps I put on. I'll put straps on them later. Get my ratchet. Do the other side. Added fog lamps so we don't want them rubbing on anything. Put the strap on here. Hold them in place, and one on the other side, and away you go. Now you might wonder why I got the car jacked up in the air. Well, there's method to my madness. The radiator add hole here that the cap came off of is now the highest point jacked up. So air will migrate here while we let it warm up and burp the air out of the system. And you'll notice I'm using Toyota pre-diluted. This lasts the longest, sometimes more than 7 years, 150,000 miles. So first thing we're gonna do, pour as much as we can till the air bubbles out. Then we'll start it up with the heater on full blast defrost. Then we'll add a little at a time. You can see it's pretty much right to the full line right here. It's full. And we'll keep filling that up. And the reason you want it on full heat and defrost, when you have this on full heat and defrost, turns the AC on, which turns the cooling fan on, so it will never overheat while you're doing this job. And since the heater's running, it'll fill the heater core up with coolant too, so there'll be no air in the system. And that does it. We'll take it for a road test. Now while you're driving, keep an eye on the temperature gauge. In this case, it's pretty close to the middle, but you want to watch it because there might be air pockets. The radiator the company sold me, the fan, all fit perfectly. It bolted on, fit in the holes. I didn't have to modify anything. So I'll say they sell pretty good products. The only time will tell how long it lasts, but it fit perfectly. I didn't have to modify anything. And for those of you who might say, oh, Scotty, you did a good job. You didn't change the thermostat. Okay, I changed the thermostat last year when it was 16 years old. So it's only 1 year old. So I left the thermostat. I've already changed that. And now, hey, I'm all ready for winter, ready for the big trip to Rhode Island. Easy job. You got a problem with your radiator? Hey, why not buy your parts online? Do it yourself. Save yourself a small fortune. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Thomas Bucco says, Scotty, what's going on with Toyota dealer? I live in the Chicago metro area, and none of the Toyota dealers have any new car inventory. They're selling the heck out of theirs because they're good cars, but I have noticed that nationwide, even on the East Coast. And a lot of it is just true scumbuggery. They actually have cars hiding somewhere else. And then at the lot, they don't have many. So that makes it look like there's hardly any here. Well, you got to pay $5,000 over MSRP because blah, blah, blah. I had a guy go to a Toyota dealer in Massachusetts the other day, and he said they wanted to add $6,900 to the price of the car because, well, there's kind of a shortage, so we're just bumping the price up, right? My advice, don't buy it. Go someplace else. I had a guy here, they wanted too much in Nashville for a Toyota Corolla. So he flew to Colorado, bought the same car for $8,000 less, went skiing and drove the car back. You can go all over the world to buy new cars. Plane tickets are pretty cheap one way. Get a better deal somewhere else, buy it there and drive it home. You're in an area where they rip you off buying new cars. They're all the same new cars. Go someplace else, buy it and come back. If they're going to hit you for that much, so my customer did, saved a ton of money and got a ski vacation out of it. Jeff P said, Chevy Cruze 6-speed manual versus Ford Focus 6-speed manual. Okay, I'd go the Ford Focus by a country mile. I would buy neither of those cars with an automatic because they both stink. But the Ford Focus with the 6-speed is actually a decent vehicle. I've had customers with them get hundreds of thousands of miles. The Chevy Cruze, one of the worst cars ever made. So definitely, if you want to drive a manual transmission, I would get the Ford well before that Chevy Cruze. Bob the Head King says, got a 93 Volvo 960. What could cause a clunk when it goes in reverse? You start up, put it in reverse, you hear a clunk. There's really only 3 things that can do that. Either the transmission's going out in reverse gear clunks, or one of the mounts is gone, transmission or motor mounts is broken, which you can easily check for breakage. Or you got a problem in a drive shaft system that when you go in reverse, The joints are clunky. Now, if you have a rear-wheel drive vehicle, it could be the rear differential, because when you go in reverse, that's turning the opposite direction. If that's the clunk, it's pretty easy. Have somebody, do it with the brake and everything on, and sit under it, look around, and if you hear the clunk coming from the back, it'd be a differential. If it's coming from the drive shaft, you'd be able to hear it came from the drive shaft. If not, it's be coming from the transmission in the middle, and you hear the clunk coming from there. The real Patrick says, Scotty, help. I'm going to buy an Acura TLX 2015. Is it good? At 75,000 miles. I'm only 17. It's $11,000. Low mileage for a Honda, that age, right? It is a Honda. Even though I call them Acura, it's the same company. They make excellent vehicles. But you're buying a 9-year-old vehicle. Don't even think about buying it till a mechanic like me checks it out, because it could have been wrecked, flooded, stolen. You have no idea. And we mechanics, we can figure it out within an hour, give you a real good position of what kind of shape that car. I do it all the time for people. I make a video out of it to help more people, to show them, here's what you can look. Check out this car. Here's what you're checking, right? And so you can watch my videos I've made. You got to pay a mechanic, because it's a very high-tech car. And if it's got problems, it costs a fortune to fix if it's been wrecked or flooded. So it could be a good car, but you got to get it checked out. You just have to. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.